And just like that, we're another week ahead of where we were last week. And I want to now focus on how we do move forward. What we've done previously is create intentions and asked ourselves that question, what do I want this to be about? And this, for me, in this moment, is this time of lockdown, a change in our economics, a change in who we are as families, how we react, and wanting all of those things to come into line to create movement forward. So first of all, we created our intentions, having some real clarity about what we wanted this time to be about. I shared with you last time about my intention, and my intention around this time is about keeping connected by protecting, promoting, and preserving all the things that are important to me as I create my pathway forward. So how we did that was we went through that 3 process. The first thing is to mine. So I mined for what I wanted to protect, promote and preserve. Then I defined the areas to focus on. And thirdly, I shined my statement of intent, ensuring that it or they were both succinct and generous. Succinct meaning 9 words or less, and generous, each word captures something very important to me and I know exactly what I mean by it. So our statements of intention, they become our umbrellas that we can then decide what sits underneath those things in order for us to set some goals to action us forward. So how do we set goals? It's a really interesting thing. We focus on it, and goals are important in all areas of our lives. We often think about them in a business sense. However, we need to be setting goals in every area of our life. From setting goals in every area, you'll find that there are some overlaps, and that's where our intense work is done to get the best bang for our buck. So as we set our goals, we go to our umbrella statement, our statement of intention, and say, in order to create that as my truth and as my reality, what areas do I need to focus on? So we start to break it down a little bit and find some areas for very, very specific focus. So with my statement of intention around connecting, promoting, protecting, and creating a pathway forward, there are several things that fall out that need specific goals around them. The first is around being connected. So that connection, it was important to me that I identified who I want to be connected with. So there's a goal around that. Protecting. It's important that there was a goal around what it is that I wanted to protect. Promoting the pathway forward, there are 2 goal areas. The first is identifying what my pathway forward is. And the second thing is deciding how best to promote that. So out of that one statement of intent, I ended up with 4 goal areas. So I need to set a goal for each of those areas. And I use the SMART formula, which I think is really helpful. The first thing around SMART, if you haven't worked with it before, is the S, and S is for specific. So the more specific we are about what it is that we want to achieve, the more likely we are to get there, because we can create the picture around what specific looks like. The M is for measurable. So right from the beginning, we work out, how am I going to measure my traction, my action, my accomplishments towards achieving this goal. The third is the A, and that's for attainable. And I think attainable is really interesting because quite often we'll choose the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that we do normally every day, and achieve it with ease. So attainable means we set it high enough to challenge us, but not so high that we can't achieve it. So I see high enough to challenge myself as I'm on my tiptoes, standing up, reaching as high as I possibly can, but knowing that I can get that goal if I keep my foot on the pedal. R is realistic, and this is quite an interesting one, because realistic means I need to be able to achieve it given current circumstances. So an example of unrealistic is my husband set a goal for himself during this lockdown period because he wasn't able to work, and he wanted to lift the ceilings in the apartment upstairs. That would have been fine if he'd had access to the equipment that he needed to do it. So while it was attainable, it wasn't realistic because the shops were all closed. So he wasn't able to get the material that he needed to do it. So realistic means given all of the things need to be able to line up in order for it to happen. And the final one is T, and that's for tangible. What will I have? What will I be at the end of achieving the goal? So tangible is kind of easy when we're looking at doing something. So it might be, my goal is by the end of the month I will have built a table. So the tangible outcome for that is going to be the table. If I'm working on more the softer skilled goals, so it might be creating a different relationship with somebody that I work with, or somebody that's in my family perhaps. It's harder to identify what tangible is, so I ask myself often, what will I hear that is different as I've achieved this goal? What will I see that is different? So we start to create little hooks so that we will know what the tangible outcome is for every goal. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and tangible. So let's make sure each goal statement is SMART. I use a really interesting formula that seems to work very well, and it's quite simple because I don't think we need to make it complicated. And we work with three things. So the first is we work with a specific date. So it's all very well to say, by the end of this year I will. If we've got a specific date, so I say by the 30th of November, I know that I've got a defined time frame to work within, which will allow me to really portion out the action that I need to take in order to achieve that goal. So that's dealing with the date. The second thing is knowing what it is that I'm going to do. So I will, and there are two parts to that often. It might be talking about action, so that's a verb, so I will be, or it's talking about something that I will have. By the 30th of November, I will have made a table. So we know exactly what it is that we're aiming for. So it's really specific. The one that's part of it that's most important to me is the why bother. The why bother, the so what around it. So we keep a very personal link into our goal. So we set the date by the 30th of November. I will have built a table from natural timber. The so that, what's my personal why bother? So that I have something that I'm very proud that I made myself when I'm quite challenged in that area. So that personal link, when the going gets tough, I know that my why bother is really encouraging me to find confidence in doing something that I'm not that confident in. So as we set goals, we need to take that time to think. What do I want it to be about? So we've created the intention. We make sure that our goals are SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and tangible. We use that formula using three specific things. By, identify a date. I will, what will you have, or what will you have become? The so that is my personal why bother. What's my personal link into that goal? Once we've done that, And what we'll talk about next time is how you plan your actions. How do we actually make these things happen? So 3 things to remember from this week. The first thing is create your goals from your statements of intent. Remember, they're the umbrella. The second thing is make them smart, but keep them very personal. Know your why. It doesn't matter if it's a business goal. Keep it personal. Understand what your skin in the game is. And the third thing is get excited about it. The more excited you are about the goal, the more you can visualize it, and then the more you will actualize it. As we head on this pathway down to level 2, all sorts of things are going to change. I'm excited about what you're going to achieve with your goals. So I look forward to hearing how you're going. Take care.